Hello and welcome to our podcast, The Ups and Downs of a Small Business Owner, where we hope to show you exactly what it's like to grow a business. Today, I'm here with Matt Pink, co-founder of Dry, which is split between the CIC and the app, and you've got another business of Tom, which is a men's group.
And a few other things going on. Lots of things going on, but yeah, all focused around alcohol-free well-being and health.
Is it mainly focused around men's health, or is it?
So yeah, I've had an app called Dry for a long time now, for over 3 years, coming up for 4 years actually, and that was how the whole thing started. And that was brought out because we wanted to create a space for people that kind of wanted to take a break from the booze, but didn't have people that were like-minded around them. Everything in the space was kind of cure rather than prevention. So we created this kind of cool space called Dry, and it's been really successful. And that's branched out to the CIC. The CIC is now, we're looking at government initiatives and we're helping local places like Milton Keynes. We're doing some free workshops. I've also got a men's group called Tom, which is kind of a real personal passion for me, because I've noticed that men just need help, and men need other men, and men need to go and climb mountains and do fun things together whilst becoming the best version of themselves. So that's kind of what I do, as well as I'm an author and a coach. Busy.
If we go back to the beginning, or where do we start with your journey?
The journey starts a long time ago. Basically, I was in the fashion industry for years and years, and working in central London and working with really cool people, working in cool places and partying with celebrities, and lots of drink, lots of drugs, lots of smoking, lots of just the wild bright lights of central London, which is what drew me into the whole thing myself. So I loved it. And then it got to a point, and I got to an age, and I got to a level of responsibility where I was thinking, this is kind of not something that I can sustain anymore, this lifestyle. And then I was hit with some personal tragedy, which kind of was the tipping point. And that was when I lost my son in 2013. And that was when my life changed, really, because I went from alcohol and drugs and partying being something that I liked to do. It went to something that I kind of needed to do to get through each day. And from then I went on a bit of a downward spiral and ended up in a bit of a rock bottom moment, really, where not really wanting to be here anymore, not having much to live for. Kind of just not caring what happened on a day-to-day basis. So that was back in 2018. I had those sort of like bottom out moments. And then at that point, I kind of lost everything. So I'd lost my marriage, lost my house, like lost everything because I didn't really care about anything anymore. And then I started the rebuild. I bounced back. So the new version of me started piece by piece, started to take breaks from alcohol, started to feel a bit better, but still drinking on the side. And I was like trying to figure it out from 2018 to 2020.
What was it like that turning point? Because I'm guessing you're there, you're in a dark place, things are struggling. Like what brought you forward?
I had a bit of a spiritual story. So it was a bit of a mad story that I would never sort of believe if I was listening to this, probably, and I wouldn't have done before. But basically, when I lost my son, I went to these big counselling buildings in London. They were providing me with this amazing counselling service, but I was looking at people that were talking to me, and I just didn't connect with them. Nothing was happening, nothing was helping, and I was kind of like walking out of these appointments thinking, why am I not feeling better? Why are these people not able to help me? Surely I should be perfect for them. That's what they do for a living. But it wasn't happening. So I was turning up to them every week, nothing was happening. And then out of desperation, really, I thought, let's try and see someone else. So I went to see a spiritual medium, and they told me all of this mad stuff about my life. They told me this mad stuff about my future. They told me that I was here for a reason, and kind of really felt enthused. But they also said about my son, they said that he's a reoccurring spirit. He'd been here before, and he'll be here again. And they kind of really almost trivialized it. It was like, oh, he's been here before. Don't worry, he's fine. He's up there now. You can see he's fine. And I had this weird connection with him that I knew he was all right. And I was like, oh, I'm sort of feel better for the first time. So that did a few things. It made me feel better, but it also opened my eyes to the world of spirituality, which I'd never thought was even real before. And then I went after that. The next few years was kind of like I was living off of that high, but started to make a bit of recovery, but also still getting pulled back by drinking drugs. My bottom out moment came a few years after that appointment, and I had someone come up to me on the street, and I was literally had a bag of clothes. I didn't know where I was sleeping that night. I'd lost everything. And this guy just came up to me on the street, and he was telling me all about my life again. It was like I was having a medium appointment on the street, on Regent Street in London. He was telling me all about my life, telling me about my son again, telling me about all these things that were going to happen. And my voice needs to be heard. I'm a very important person in the world, and I need to be heard. As he was talking to me, I was reminded of all the things that were said in the previous medium appointment. I was reminded of this kind of spiritual world, and I felt like he was putting me back on the track. And this guy just came out of nowhere, told me the stuff and just disappeared. And it was like he'd been sent from the spiritual world to help me. And he did. And that was the moment where I was like, yeah, I am valuable.
So you didn't know him, or
No, nothing at all.
never spoke to him since?
And I was with my mate Ryan. Thank God. I always say this, but thank God he was with me, because no one would believe the story. He was stood there with me. We were both just listening to this guy 15, 20 minutes just chatting to us. And I was just like, that was it. I was like, okay, yeah, I can rebuild. I am worthy. And then it's just been, upwards since there, really.
So did you lose your job at the time?
That's the one thing I didn't do. I kept my job just somehow. It was only because they were aware of what I'd been through and was sort of gave me a bit of a wide berth, but I did keep holding my job. Then left in the real breakthrough came in lockdown, really, when I sort of saw, like, this is my opportunity to get out of this lifestyle, because I was kind of trapped in my own lifestyle that I created. I was this character in central London. Everyone knew me as the party boy. I was trying to take sober breaks. I was feeling better, looking better, but I was still surrounded by what I was trying to get away from. So in the lockdown, I was like, okay, I'm furloughed. I can spend 4 months, 5 months, however long it's going to be, getting out of that and like completely transforming my life. And when I went back after that, I was like a different person. And then I started building websites, and I started writing a book, and then I started doing a coaching course and doing all of that on the side with the newfound time I had, because I wasn't drinking or suffering from drinking drugs. I was clean. I had all this time in my life. So I was building a side hustle and a new life on the side, and then took the plunge a few years ago, just left that whole industry behind, and now do this full time.
So when you left, what went through your head? At what point did you decide, I can leave and go and do it?
It's that whole, like, if you jump, the net will appear kind of thing. I kept reading stuff like that, and I was like, look, the more I can do, the better. So I was really motivated by my own time. So I'd spend 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd be there writing a book, or I'd be there after work building a website and just using every single hour that God sent, until I got to a stage where my book was done, my website was done, I'd done my coaching course, my book was out and selling. There was a few courses that I was starting to host that were generating some revenue. It was nowhere near what I was generating, but I kind of then had to remove the big block of a job to create all of this newfound space, which meant I could then hope that it comes back in. But also when you're living that life, I was spending a lot of money when I was living that lifestyle, because I was living that lifestyle. It's not cheap to be drinking and drugging in central London every day. Whereas I knew that I didn't have to earn what I was earning before to live a much better quality of life. So the gap wasn't as big as it seemed on paper.
Did you sit and work that out then? Like, actually, you can afford to drop down to X amount?
Yeah, pretty much. Not to the pound, but yeah, pretty much. And I've got a wife, and we kind of figured it out between us. It's like, this could be I might need to lean on her a bit more in the first instance, and she was happy to do it, so that's what we did.
So she was with you like during like the troubled times as well.
So I got divorced in ages ago, 2018 maybe. I met my new wife, who's now my wife, when I was kind of at that rock bottom moment. That part of that guy on the street talking to me was, I met my now wife for a drink the previous week, and he told me that she was good for me. Go with her, go with her, go with her. So he'd give me his directions, go with her. And I ended up moving in with her the next week. Wow. And now we're married and got our own kids. So yeah, she's been brilliant throughout the whole process. And she's seen she inherited me at my worst, and now hopefully sees me at my best.
And do you think she was nervous when you said, like, I'm going to quit this massive paid job or this high?
I don't think so, because she wasn't overly thrilled with the lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's not great for her to have someone who's turned up at home at whatever time, in whatever condition. So I think she would much prefer me to be there and be me, and earn less. So yeah, she saw the bigger picture.
If we go back before all of this, then, like, I guess at school, what was the dream? What was it that you wanted? Did you want to work in the fashion industry? Was that?
No, you just want jobs you fall into, because I wasn't very good at school. The classic case of, I didn't conform particularly with the whole academic setting. I didn't really want to sit in a class with 30 people doing the same thing. I always wanted to do my own thing. I always thought I was better than everyone else at certain things, and the teacher would say I was the worst at it, but I thought they were bad, so I wasn't taking their opinion. So it was just like classic kind of entrepreneur mindship in an academic setting, really. So didn't do very well at school, got out there at the nearest possible time, and the first job I could fall into was working in a shop, which kind of essentially what I did. And then I just happened to work my way through the rankings quite quickly, and then found myself sort of in a role in Milton Keynes. I was like, I want to be at the bigger lights, I want to be in the bigger cities. Moved into central London quite early, and worked my way through better brands in better locations, in much higher profile settings, which came quite quickly over the course of like 15 years, really, I suppose, going from start to finish. And that was it. So I put my ladder against this wall that I got to the top of, and I thought, I'm not sure this is the right wall it should have been against. But it was a product of not having any hopes and dreams, really.
Right.
Because you get them beaten out of you when you have that entrepreneur mindset.
At school, yeah. You need to do whatever this is and follow the rules. I guess this probably fits quite nicely. Like, how important have the people around you been from both a personal and business point of view?
Massive. And that was the case when I was always successful in my previous life through having good people around me, through creating good teams around me. And it's not, interestingly, I said I started in Milton Keynes in my retail career, and what Milton Keynes and cities like that have is like a real kind of family atmosphere. And when I moved to London with the same brand, I was like, this is mad. It's like everybody's from different nationalities. Nobody really likes each other. There's no camaraderie. It's like I'm working for a different place, even though it's the same brand. And I always thought to myself, if I can bring this kind of family unit into a central London setting, I'm onto a winner. And so that was always my mindset. So that's what I did as I worked my way through. I started to build little cluster teams and bring like-minded people together and do team building exercises. And we got to a stage where we were just so successful because we had such a good team and everyone would do anything for each other. And we were there for each other every day. So that was what was really my biggest passion and success in my previous life. And then since doing this, hence why I'm a co-founder of Dry, I wanted to work with people that I was inspired by. So that's why I have worked with Andy Ramage, who's like a big part of my life now. And he's been a real big influence positively since starting this journey. And he's one of the leading figures in the whole alcohol-free space. So, and he's not just him. I've got people that work with me on Tom, which are really great guys. And I've had lots of people in the Dry app that are life members that we've actively recruited, and they come on board as a volunteer and they help provide content. They do calls, they're there as support, and they're just brilliant humans. So yeah, I still have that same methodology of bringing really good people to anything that I do and work with them because it's important.
You mentioned Andy, the co-founder of Dry. How did Dry then come about?
So I'd followed him. I'd seen the podcast he did with Rich Roll on the tube one day, coming home from work, a bit pissed and thinking, who's this guy talking about? And he was talking about people that were giving up drinking that were not addicts. And I was like, that sounds like me. I'd like that. And he was saying about it was benefits and more time and you would clarity of mind and you could go and achieve things. And it really resonated with me. And I was like, who is this guy? So it turns out he was in Essex. And so I reached out to him, went and met him for a coffee, and just got to know him a little bit. And he was doing a few courses, and I paid up to it, and I did my coaching degree, coaching qualification through him. So I got to know him on that level. And then he'd been involved in a brand called 1 Year No Beer, which was big at the time, previous to Dry. And he'd moved away from that, so he wasn't really doing anything in the alcohol-free space. So I was like, look, I've got this good idea. I want to bring my sort of like fashiony, retail-y, cool ethos to a really uncool thing, because alcohol free is so boring and dull, and sober's always like sit in a room and talk about what happened to you 10 years ago. It's like, let's not do that. Let's create a space where people can come. We'll do events, we can do calls, we can do all this stuff. We can bring cool people together and make it fun, and also provide people with like-minded people, because that's important as well. And so we were in Ireland doing an event together when I mentioned it to him, and then he was like, yeah, let's do it. So started from there, then we got on with it, and we got a bit of investment and just got started. That was nearly 4 years ago.
And it's still going strong now, and it's split into two.
Yeah, well, it's evolved. It's evolving all the time. And it's, the CIC element now is quite an important part, because we want to maintain stuff for free. And that's always been our big vision. The app's always been for free. Always been lots we offer for free. A lot of the events we do are for free. And I just wanted to expand that free offer and actually do something more locally. And I think when the lockdown happened, a lot of businesses went kind of online, which meant they then went global. And that's what we did. We started Dry. We had people all over the world. We had I can't remember, 76 countries or something at one point in the app. Crazy. But then what's happened, I think, in the last few years is that it's been like going back to local. So I think I've got a personal attachment to Milton Keynes. I want to go and help people locally. And we can do that through the CIC, because we can work with the council, work with the government, and try and help people before they need help. That's kind of the ethos.
So just for the podcast, what is the CIC?
It's a community interest company. So it's like a charity, essentially, but it means that you can work with the National Lottery, places like that, and you can say, right, we want to help people in Milton Keynes. We want to deliver this. Can you help us fund it? And then they help us fund it. So it's kind of, it's not lucrative in any way, but it's just they provide you with the finances to go and advertise it, to host it, to do the refreshments, to do that kind of thing. So it's just a really nice thing to do, because you're then not covering the cost yourself, but you're then nor are the people that come to the events either. So it's a really worthwhile business, and it's quite rewarding.
And all of the events that you do, or most of the events you do, are free.
All of the CIC events are free, yeah.
Right.
So at the minute, I'm doing in Milton Keynes every single month. Anyone who wants to look at it, just go to Eventbrite and type in Dry Impact CIC, dry with 2 Ys, and you'll see there's a monthly event. It's free. You can sign up. There's a limited amount of tickets depending on where we are. We're doing them in North, South, East, West, and Central Milton Keynes for 18 months. We are coming up to 4 months into it. And we've got the same group have been to the last few, and making some really big breakthroughs where people are walking in. They haven't taken a break from the booze for ages. I'm challenging them to come back with, next month, having had a break, and they're doing it, and they're looking better already. So it's great. We're building a little team of people in Milton Keynes that hopefully will snowball into a bigger team of people. And by the end of the 18 months, we'd have helped quite a few people.
And for people, for example, I don't really drink at all, or I have done. If I do, it's a binge drink at a party or Christmas or something, maybe 3 times a year. Is that still something that I would come to?
No, probably not.
It's more focused on people who are looking to try and stop.
We call it like the middle lanes. If you imagine like a magic wand, it's got the white ends at either end. You've got sober people, and you've got addicts, like proper addicts, and in the middle is the black bit. We talk into the black bit. So the people that drink sometimes a lot, sometimes too much, sometimes not at all. Those sort of people that have an interest, that actually want to take a break, reduce it, or give it up completely. And if you're drinking 3 times a year, I would assume you're all right with that. You probably don't have to be giving it up completely.
I mean, I only do it because it's an event, essentially, and I try. I'd say, for me, it's that I don't actually enjoy it. Being honest, beer doesn't taste as nice as anything else, pretty much anything else. But maybe that's just my childish taste buds, and I prefer sugar. But and then, so I know we've spoken about alcohol-free. There's a lot of alcohol-free drinks now. They still have a little bit of alcohol in them, don't they?
So there's 2 ways of making it. You can make it with alcohol in and take it out, and extract the alcohol, so you're left with traces.
Right.
Or you can build it from the ground up, which is a more expensive route, but there's not usually alcohol in it. So you'll see like 0.5 on some of them. They're usually the ones that have had it taken out. 0.0 are the ones that have usually built from the ground up. But
Right.
There's alcohol traces in anything, like bananas and brioche buns, soy sauce, loads of stuff. But you're not really going to get pissed on a banana. You don't need to worry too much about it.
Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. And I think from what I've seen, and a lot of like kids now, like there's a huge shift towards like not drinking, and that whole thing is like either alcohol free is almost becoming more normal.
Yeah.
Like if you go out, you do see people drinking alcohol free drinks, and you do see people even not drinking alcohol at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a shift, or do you think it's like a bubble? Do you think it's long term?
Yeah, I think it's a shift. I think it's been driven by loads of things. Whole online thing is about how you look, your image, your own little personal brand. So I think that isn't congruent with being drunk or hungover or looking tired all the time. So there's that element. There's the fact alcohol-free drinks are just so readily available. There's information overload. We now know what alcohol does to you, and not only do we know it, you can see it. And if you're wearing a Garmin or a Whoop or an iWatch, you can see your heart rate variability increase or decrease. You can see the heart rate, resting heart rate go up when you've had a drink. You can see your sleep be completely disrupted. REM sleep just destroyed if you have one drink. So people are looking at it, monitoring their own health and going, hang on a minute, this is destroying it, and I can see it in my own results. So why would I do it? So I think it's a shift that's going to last forever. And I think we talk to mainly the kind of 30 to 50 year olds, because that kind of encapsulates the group of people that have got parents that were big drinkers and kids that don't drink.
They're kind of caught in between. Yeah, you kind of mentioned a lot of the health stuff. Like, I guess people, is it because it's more available now? Like when you were younger, if you had a Whoop band or a Garmin watch or something that monitored all of your health, do you think that would have stopped you?
Well, I don't think it was to you individually, but if it's a collective, it's what everyone's doing it, aren't they? Everyone's competing with each other. There's league tables on where you can join your mates and you can see each other's scores. So why would you want to go and drink and run your score if you're against your league mates? Yes, it would reduce it if you knew your own score, but it's mainly about competing with everyone else and looking at what everyone else is doing. And why would you do that thing that's just going to have such a detrimental effect on your health from what you can read and also from what you can feel?
But if we went to when, let's say you're in the thick of it, when you were in London on nights out, what would it have taken for you to have decided, no, I'm not going to do it now?
I don't think, so I never regret anything. I think it was such a good time, but I don't think anything would have changed me because I was loving it and everyone else was loving it. And I was in a bubble of people that were loving it. And that's not the case anymore. The world's changed.
Like you said, like your friends around you at the time, that's what they were doing.
Yeah, that's what we were all doing. I was
So you were
leading
like
it.
competing with that.
Yeah, so, but equally, that's why I'm so passionate about bringing communities of people together. That's why Dry was created. Because if you think about these people on the Magic Wand analogy again, in the middle, who are they talking to? If you're drinking twice a week and you want to give it up, who do you talk to? Where's your community of people? That's just, there isn't one. So that's why we created it. And likewise with my men's group, it's for, because I feel passionate about men. What I see all the time now is men that are giving up the booze for a period of time, but then they're going back to it because they're getting a bit like complacent and, oh, I feel good now all the time. I just want to go back and throw that grenade back into my life. But I'll create a men's group that's actually, no, this is about what's next. So let's build the best version of you. So I want you to like get really excited about your future, so excited that there's no room for alcohol. So again, we find that we've got a team of people that are together and we all get the best out of each other. But without that, I think it would be a much harder job. So creating these little silos and communities is a really important part of it.
So did you change your friends? Have you changed friends?
Yeah, definitely.
Through that?
I always, you're going to lose friends. And like, they're usually the friends that are your big pisshead mates. They're kind of just like there for that reason, which you don't really notice at the time until you stop boozing. You also retain friends that you wouldn't necessarily thought you would have done. You also lose friends for a bit and they come back after a while. So it's a real, you have to go down the line quite a few years till you kind of figure it all out. But I've still got the majority of my friends I always had, but I just see a lot less of them. But I've got a lot more new friends that are much more aligned with what I'm doing in the future. And I see a lot more of them. So yeah, you do shift your friendship group.
And not even with that, I think in life in general, like I've had kids, some of my friends haven't. Actually, they still want to go out, they still want to party, or they want to do the incredible stuff that they do. Unfortunately, with two young kids, I can't afford, or I don't really want to spend the time going out doing whatever it is, 2-week holiday away. So even then I'm noticing friends are changing, and yes, I'm still friends with them, but you're in different times of your life.
Yeah. And you'll try and do your best job, aren't you? You're all trying to be the best version of yourself, but you're torn between this. I don't want to give up my past. I don't want to give up the beer with my mates, but but I'm a dad now and I need to do this. And it's a really difficult juggling act. And I do think we could go too far from one thing to another. There's so many people that are big boozers with their mates, then they just disappear and become dads and they don't have that social element anymore. I think that's why what I'm doing with men's group again is important, because then you're getting to get together with people, but we do like fun things that are still, we'll go out for breakfast or we'll go out and hike a mountain together, but we'll come home again. It's like you've come back revived and refreshed so that you're a better version to turn up to your family, as opposed to going away with your mates for a week and coming back like a broken animal and struggling to recover for a week. So those elements are still important, those socialising bits.
You mentioned like breakfast or lunch or anything like that. That there's a stigma behind that's what females do, or like, they go for a coffee or whatever. And as a bloke, you don't do that. You go to the pub. How do you break that stigmatism, or like, again, as a bloke, we don't like to talk about things and we bottle it all up. How do we open that door?
Well, I think this is why you're seeing so many things appear, like run clubs. Like you're seeing things even happening in pubs now where people get together on alcohol-free nights. There's all sorts going on. But I think that the running club's a good example, because actually men do want to get together and not drink. But like you say, ask your mate to go for a coffee is still a little bit cringe. But I don't mind doing it now, and I do it now, but not everyone's up for that. Whereas if you say, let's go for a run and a coffee, we'll grab a coffee after, it's a much softer way of doing it. You're actually doing something else at the same time, and you still got to have that chat as well. So I think, or walk and talks, they're quite popular. So I just go for a little stroll on lunchtime around a lake or whatever. That sort of thing is kind of the modern approach to it all, because you're right, it's still not quite, I still find it a bit like awkward sitting with a mate in a coffee shop because there's nowhere to go. I prefer to be walking or running or even eating.
Yeah.
Sitting there having a direct conversation with someone's really difficult.
And then also opening up. like blokes don't like to open up about anything. It's that because when you're sat in that coffee shop, you're talking directly. There's no other distractions. There's nothing you can kind of focus on. That's just a direct conversation.
Yeah. And it's easy to become surface level, isn't it? 'Cause if you ask your mate how they are, they're always going to say they're all right for the rest of the time. No one's ever going to go, well, I'm not all right actually because this and this, because you don't see them enough.
Yeah.
I think that's where like true friends need to be there, and actually men that get it, because you wouldn't necessarily want to sit here and pull your heart out. You know, you probably had a few beers last night and he's not that interested and he's looking over your shoulder or whatever else is going on. You're not going to want to pour your heart out to him. Whereas if you're talking to someone who's on a level who gave up the booze the same sort of time as you, that we're climbing a mountain together, you're far more likely, and I've seen it in action, to actually talk and sort of release those feelings and just feel so much better for it. But you need to be in the right environment with the right people.
Yeah. And I love the idea of like climbing the mountain and doing stuff like that. What's the best event you've been to?
Last year, me and my men's group went to Chamonix in France. So I quite like skiing, but we went there in the summer. And I was thinking to myself, for ages, there was actually ChatGPT that came up with it. I was like, where can we go? Where can we go that's like good for alcohol-free men, that we can go, there's stuff to do. Because, you know, you look at city breaks and stuff like that, and it's still like, well, it's sort of still the place you'd go with your missus. Let's do something different. And then it said, what about a ski resort in the summer? And I was like, that is genius. Because it's cheap, loads of accommodation there. It was easy to get to. The flights were off peak, you know, and there's you can still go up the mountains, but you can either bike down, or you can walk up, or you can cable car down. Loads of different things you can do. Jump off the mountain and with a parachute, loads of stuff. Activity holiday. And so we said, let's do that, and we did it for really cheap. And we all went together last summer. It was coming up for a year ago, and it was just brilliant. It was the moment where my old men's group I'd had for 3 years kind of became the new men's group. So I was like, right, this is something, after this holiday, I've realised this is something I want to dedicate my whole life to, because it's so special. We had such a laugh, like belly laughs. No even hint at having a beer. Walking past people having a beer, we were going out for lovely meals, having a nice night, getting up, feeling refreshed, going on a morning hike. Just brilliant. So that was the big life-changing moment for me in Chamonix, and that's what we're going to do more of in the future.
So more like abroad trips? Or?
We do different things. We do like meetups around the UK, which are important as well, because it means we can see each other. I've come up with a bit of a genius idea of like these hosted meetups. So a member of the community will say, oh, I'll do it. And then wherever they live in the UK, but it doesn't matter if it's like Milton Keynes or Skegness, whatever, it doesn't matter where it is, we'll all go there. So we say, right, this weekend, Simon's hosting it in Derby. And because Simon lives in Derby, he can give us all the local information, where to go, where to stay, what to eat, blah, blah, blah. So we'll just bring it all together into a little trip, make it really affordable for everyone. And then we'll just turn up and do a little weekend. And we just did one in Horsham in Surrey, Sussex. I can't remember which one, but Horsham anyway. Yeah. And we did like running. We went to the dogs. We did a park run together. And the Saturday morning, we went to watch a random football match. We went to Crawley Town FC versus Chesterfield. So a random football match, but it doesn't matter what we do. We just filled the itinerary with little bits throughout the day, the afternoon, the evening. And then the next morning we went to Bill's for brunch, and then everyone went home. It was really affordable, really good fun, and just a great time for us all to come together. So that's why I just love this group so much, and I'm super passionate about making it bigger and better as we go on.
Has there ever been a point in like organising them events that you thought it just isn't going to work?
When I've done larger scale events, so when I started doing events, I wanted to do stuff that was quite bold. So my first ever event I did on my own, which is crazy looking back at it, was a no booze cruise. So I hired, the booze cruise boats that go up and down the Thames, and they're just basically DJ, bar, pay a price, drink all you can. Don't even look out the window, you're just too busy, get on it. So I hired one of them, and I filled all the fridges out, and I put all the fridges back with alcohol-free beer, and I sold tickets as all-inclusive, exactly like you would. DJ made it the same thing. And they're brilliant. And I sold it out. And the next year I did another one, bigger boat, sold it out. Next one did a bigger one, sold it out. So 3 years in a row, it was brilliant. And then we decided to do a festival. So we're like, let's just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think my last boat party, the third one, I realised that the tickets were harder to sell. It kind of was peaking out maybe at around 100. I tried to go to 200. And so we're like, let's just try and do something else in different guides. So we did a festival. and we had a big field down in Somerset, down near Glastonbury actually, and that just was really hard to sell. It was much harder than I thought. So my ideas kind of peaked out of that one, and it was logistically trying to do a festival when you're selling it to alcohol-free people in the middle of nowhere was a real challenge. So that was that was my biggest challenge when it came to running an event, I think. And from there, I've kind of gone backwards into kind of smaller events because I feel like they're more effective, they're more powerful, and people just get more out of it when they're there.
I guess it also brings that personable touch as well, because it's quite a personal thing and it's quite intricate.
Yeah, and that's where I'm a sort of member of my own men's group, and I'm not someone who does it from afar and just sort of oversees it and promotes it. Like, I'm in it and I love it as much as anyone else loves it in there. And for me, that's important. And I think I've had to go through that big journey to realize that. And so when I'm talking, so you can probably see what I'm passionate about, because I create the thing I need for me. And I want more mates that do what I want to do. And so I'm doing it for me as much as anyone else. And that's why I think it's going to be great.
Like, as you said, like doing it for you, that changes everything. That gives you so much more energy. And how would you say, like, if somebody didn't know, or most people get up, they go to work, they don't really enjoy it, what would you say to somebody? Like, what's the difference between doing it for yourself and something that you're passionate about compared to just earning the good money?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, this is where it's difficult though, to be honest, because if you start doing your passion for your livelihood, it can quite quickly distinguish. What's the word? Put a fire out.
Extinguish. Yeah.
It can extinguish your passion for something by doing it for a living. And that's a real balance that I've had to sort of had a bit of a yin and yang with. I've had to fight. And that's why I've, again, gone around the houses. I've gone from growing and growing and growing this thing into something that's becoming a bit of a beast. And it's becoming stressful. And to now you're still doing that, but sort of watering and tempering it down a little bit and focusing more on the men's thing, because the men's thing, I can now use all my previous knowledge of trying to grow something to something huge and actually realize I'm not sure I want to do that in the space I'm so passionate about. I want to do something that's actually for people like me that I can feel passionate about, that's on a much smaller scale. I had all the mad exciting ideas of like, let's start a tryout, let's get 1 million people in it, let's make it a household name. And you go on that journey, you get 10,000 people, you get 15,000 people, you get 20,000 people, you're like, this is great. But the more people you get in there, the more stressful it becomes. And the more stressful it becomes, the less passionate you get about it. So you have to be careful when you're doing something that's your passion. But in answer to your question, when you're doing something for you versus doing something for a business, that is a great way to live if you can make it work. But don't think it doesn't come without its own stresses. Because I do look at people sometimes, they've got a job, and I think, I'm so jealous of you. You get holiday pay, you get a salary at the end of the month, you get to sleep at night knowing that you're going to get paid. Whereas I have to find it every month, and it's a challenge.
It's exactly that, isn't it? There's challenges on both sides. But as a business owner, you get a flashy lifestyle, out on the jet skis all the time, living that high life, because that's what business owners do. Whereas as a job, like, you're just going in, doing your thing, you come home, you don't think about it again, you have your evening off, and it's really easy. And that's exactly how both get portrayed. It's not quite reality on either of them. But you mentioned in there, I've lost it now. You mentioned in there, like, you had that growth. Everyone focuses on growth. Every business is like, you need to be here. Like, you want to be Elon Musk. You want to be at the top. What goes through your head to go, actually, I don't want to be there. I'm content and I'm happy, and this is my bit.
Well, I think for me, I can only talk about my journey, and it's been nothing but trying to do well for myself, but also trying to create something that's special, that stands out. And I think I've definitely gone through phases where I've been like, this is brilliant, it's amazing, we're doing really well. And then, oh, this is really stressful, and it'll come through to the next phase. But it got to a stage where the stress of it outweighs the pleasure of it. And I think if you get to that stage in anything, don't do it, whether it's a marriage, a job, or your own business. And so then it's a kind of readjusting, realigning. And so we came to a period last year where we pivoted the whole app and we moved on to a new platform. And we changed it, we changed what we offer, we changed how it works. And we did that on purpose because we wanted to like create something that was more future proofed, as opposed to just this big free app that was kind of just out there. So we did that last year, and that was intentional. And that's been a big learning in itself, just migrating that many people off one platform to another, into some of the monetization from free into freemium. It came with a load of challenges, came with a load of disruption and a load of learns. But it was a thing that needed to be done. So now I can look back at all of that and say, oh, that was interesting, how it all worked out in the end. And what's come of it is the CIC, smaller local level, as opposed to 76 countries, and men's group, which is intimate and me involved in it, as opposed to events happening all around the world that I'm not in that, but they're part of the dry experience. So that's just my own experience.
I guess it's really hard for you to keep that same personal touch when it's global and you're not there.
Definitely. And I honestly think the world's going back to local. I genuinely do. I think because I've had people in my men's group so my men's group's now just UK, and it used to be global, but people had come in from all over the world, and they'd sit there on a call, and it just didn't kind of connect, because it would be English banter or like football chat or something people just didn't understand. But I was in such a world where I thought global, growth. I just was like allowing it. And then now I've like streamlined it and realised that actually there's a load of people in the UK, like a lot. And there's a lot of men in the UK. And actually there's a big market for this in the UK. And by doing it just UK based, everyone will understand each other, and it's so much better. And that was one of the biggest and best decisions I've made. But your ego kind of gets in the way. You think, why would I go from global just to UK? Why would I go from men and women just to men? And like, it's like this whole thing when you talk about niching down, people always say it, but now I've done it, I'm like, that is a really good idea.
I think you don't think about it, and it's like you're restricting yourself to just a few million people.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, like, you don't have a few million people, so actually restricting down to a few million people and hitting them better is much better than.
Definitely. Land's better. And you're eliminating 99% of people, but you only need 1% to make it work. And so that's like the learn. And yeah, just by having like-minded people, you just have less issues. There just is less issues. Like from people getting on with each other, everyone kind of comes on a call and they're like, oh, I see a different version of myself. Or we meet up and everyone just gets on. There's been no issues at all. And that's just from creating like a niche community. It's just been pivoted itself. We've transitioned from one men's group into a better one. And now that is just something that I just feel really passionate about growing, but growing it strategically and still very small, as opposed to having millions. I now want probably hundreds as opposed to millions. So yeah, taking it, and who knows where this journey will end up. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Because I could be sitting here in 3 years' time and tell you, well, I did that and then this happened and this is where I'm at now. It's just
And now I'm global again.
Yeah, exactly.
With that, you say you got a wife and kids at home, like going on these events and stuff like that. How do you keep it like separate, personal and business, or is it all just kind of, I guess, open?
It's a bit of a blur because we do these events quarterly, so it's not too deep. Like I can get away with it, and I think my missus is fine with me going to Horsham with a loads of mates, dog racing that all don't drink, as opposed to going with my pisshead mates and coming back in the right state. So she's fine with it. But yeah, I'm fully immersed in it personally and authentically. And I think you can't really do that if you're going to keep the barriers up. So I've sort of chucked myself right in it because I enjoy it, and that's the way I carry on with it, I suppose.
And I guess it's quite a social thing anyway, so it's quite a nice, as you say, that they're friends in there. It's not like business and friends are separate.
Yeah,
it's all included.
And also a couple of them have come on board with me, and since some of the lads have been in it for years. When I've gone, right, I need to do this like properly now, as opposed to, it was kind of like, let's just create a group, little subscription, and let's just see what happens. Now it's like, okay, no, and after the Chamonix period, it's like, no, I'm going to make this into an actual thing, and I'm going to spend 6 months building it, and I'm going to learn from everything that I've done well and make that even better. And anything that doesn't really work, I'm going to change it and make it global to UK and all that stuff. And then 2 of the lads that have been on the journey with me said, look, we want to come on board with you and help you build it. And they've got all the sort of strengths that I haven't got operationally. And so we've been doing that with them for the last 6 months. Yeah, again, the community's kind of that I've had has helped form the community that I'll have. And I'm not in any way like precious about that. I'll happily, I'll allow the whole thing to evolve as they want it to.
On that, well, slightly off of that, like who has been your most important person or mentor or in your journey, in the whole thing? Who's been, if you had to pick one standout person?
Yeah, I guess it would be Andy Ramage, who he's the guy who ultimately inspired me to stop drinking. He's the guy that met me for a coffee when I reached out to him as a stranger. He's the guy that got into business with me and give me lots of time to help me grow. And he's the guy that even now I'd always bounce ideas off, even if they're not involving him, just because he's just someone who I admire. He's done really well for himself. He's a great guy, and he's changed a lot of lives himself. So definitely say him.
Have you ever told him that?
Yeah, I think I do. It's weird, isn't it? You don't have those drunken moments where when you're shouting someone's ear how much you love them. But yeah, I do tell him, and he does know. And he's probably watched plenty of these podcasts as well. So
Fair enough. If well, this is kind of a two-part question. If you could go back to the beginning, would you do it all the same again? Let's say go back to the beginning, left school, go into the fashion industry and stuff like that. Would you do all that same again?
I don't know what else I would do. Put it that way, because there's nothing in school other than be a footballer that I wanted to do. So I had no choice. That was the best option I had, and and I'm always someone that if I'm going to do something like that, let's do to the best of my ability. And I really did that, and I got to a level I never ever dreamed of. Like someone who didn't get very good grades, I was always told it'd be nothing, and I've ended up getting a job with really good money. I've ended up being a best-selling author, and I've ended up changing a lot of lives. So I wouldn't change that part of it, no.
And then if you went back to starting dry, would you do that again?
I'd definitely do it again. I'd definitely do it differently though, because I think we gave away way too much for free, and it cost us a lot of money. And it was all pure from the pure will of our heart, because we wanted to just go and help loads of people. But I would have definitely have brought in a freemium kind of subscription element to it that was solid from the start, as opposed to trying to bring that in halfway through, because otherwise you end up with just a massive thing that's costing a lot of money for us, and which from a business perspective isn't great.
And you've got to be able to afford to run the business to enable it for all these people.
Well, exactly, and that's the funny thing, because you spend literally thousands of your own money building it, and you then give it for free and go to these events for free, and then do events that cost you money, and then you still try and put in a subscription sometimes when people will moan at you at £10 a month. And because that's the difficult thing about the alcohol-free space, is a lot of people assume that it should be free, and when you're doing something privately from your own will of your own heart, just to put a £9.99 optional subscription in there, it seems very fair from our perspective, but people still sometimes don't like it. So but people also don't like change. And I think when we've tried to change it and evolve it as we're halfway through it, it's become understandably difficult for some people to take. So that was definitely the biggest challenge.
And going forwards with dry, like, would you want to leave that as a legacy? Would you want that to continue?
I'd love to stay around forever. Whether it would involve me or not, don't know. But I think we've created I've heard people talk about dry and they haven't even known that it's mine. So listening to people actually talk about it independently is so rewarding. I saw someone on the tube once who was on it, and I was like, it's pretty amazing to see that sort of stuff. So I would want dry to stay on forever, and I'd always be proud of everything we've done of it, with it, and to it. And I hope whatever happens to it in the future is just nothing but a huge success. I'm sure it will be.
I mean, I'm sure it will be, but just by this conversation. AI is probably having a huge impact on everything everyone is doing. Has it really affected you, or are you using it, or what's your views on it?
I think we're seeing a lot more people use it for how can I stop drinking. So there's, before it was a lot of us talking online and trying to give the information, whereas they can now just chat GPT it. So I think it's forcing everybody to be better and more personable in their own content. You can't really reel off the same stuff that ChatGPT does anymore. You kind of need to be better. So we're not using it in the app yet, but it could come at a later date. But we are noticing that people are using it to help them on their own journeys, which I think is great.
And in men's general health, like on this, I know this can be really quite a difficult one. But for example, my car has Grok built in, and it had a therapist, which I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm going to click the button just to see, because I'm quite excited by shiny new things. Now, the conversation I had was like, I thought I'd try and this is nothing to do with my personal life. I've not had an argument with my wife, just to let you know. But that's the persona I went with. That's the story I went with. It was like, oh, I had a rough time. We're not getting on. We had an argument. This is what's going on. Now, it was a female voice. It was a therapist. She was telling me how great I am. She was giving me all sorts of incredible things. And I can see people struggling with the real world because in the virtual world, somebody is telling you how great you are, telling you you can do this, you can do that, and just agreeing with you. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily have that at home. You don't just get that agreement. So how do we stop that?
How do we stop what?
How do we stop people kind of moving towards the virtual world rather than the real world?
Well, I don't think that we should stop it. I think it's brilliant. I think we're just in a bit of a phase of it where it is a little bit simplistic in its approach. And like ChatGPT, I'm fed up with because I'm like asking it this as a real question, and I'm open to the answer being negative or give me some proper feedback. And it's like, great idea, mate. You're so good at this thing, and this should be the. I'm like, don't just tell me all the positives about everything all the time. And I think it's leading people down the garden path in a lot of ways. Like you say, you don't want to talk to something that just tells you how great you are, and that's the end of it. But these tools are going to evolve, and I think they're going to evolve rapidly, and I think they're going to be brilliant parts of what we need and do. So it's going to make things like therapy so much more accessible, less of a stigma, less of an affordability issue. So I think they're brilliant. I think they're going to be a lot better in the future. So I think we should lean into it.
Okay. So at the end of the podcast, I don't know if you've seen Diary of a CEO. They have the conversation cards, and we do one each. So we're going to pick one each and ask each other that question. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. I'll ask you then.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and change one specific moment in your life, what would it be and why?
One specific moment.
Great question.
Yeah. I don't really think. What would I change? I'm sure I'd change anything. I'd have bet on Leicester to win the Premier League. Like genuinely, I do this quite a lot, and I try and focus heavily on like not regretting and focusing. Everything's happened for a reason. And it's got me to where I am now. So I don't think I'd change anything specifically. It might be. I guess there's one thing that's just jumped to me, and that's what I'm going to go with. In first school, I don't remember what happened. I don't remember the full details of it. I remember my mum taking me to somebody's house and apologising for bullying someone. I genuinely couldn't tell you what I've done. I've obviously done something. It's gone through the school, and I think absolutely I'd change that. Knowing what bullying does and how it impacts people and everything like that. At the age of 6 years old, I clearly did something that wasn't right, and I would absolutely change that because I hope that hasn't had any impact on their life. I don't even know the guy, like I haven't even spoken to him since first school, so genuinely wouldn't even know, but that's the best I can think of, which I don't think is very good.
No, but it's also, I suppose, on the flip side, you wouldn't probably regret it in many ways because it's probably taught you, like you just said, that you now know the whole picture. You look at bullying very differently because you've maybe seen both sides of it. With these things, it's always a tricky question, isn't it? Because you can't, as a 6-year-old, what did you might have said you didn't like his top or whatever. You don't know, and you're 6, and so that's just what life is. So I get it.
Yeah, like that is a tough one, but yeah, no, I don't think there's anything I'd specifically regret. This one's a very similar question. If you could turn back the clock on one day this year and do it differently, what day would it be and why?
Jeez, this year. What are we only in April?
Yeah, so I guess the last 12 months.
Okay, I think. There's one that jumps out straight away. When we were going through our pivot of our new app to our old app to new app, we had a lot of challenges and changes, and it happened to be over Christmas because we were trying to get it through before the end of the year because we want to dry January to be on a new shiny platform. So there's a lot of stress for me personally over Christmas and New Year, and we took the kids to the pantomime like we do every year, and I stupidly was checking my phone before we were in the lobby, basically waiting for the pantomime with all the kids. Everyone's dressed up, everyone's really excited, including me, but I'm also getting bombarded with messages and problems and issues, and I'm looking and getting stressed out. And so then I kind of missed the first bit, the excitement bit, and then sat through the first half of the pantomime, just thinking about the issues, and then checked my phone at the interval, and I'd take a phone call, and I was like stressing out, and I just wasn't the whole time in this pantomime this year, I just wasn't there. And I was stressed and I was anxious and I was wanting it to hurry up so I could finish and get out and send an email or whatever. So that was a low point for me personally as well, because I felt awful because I was felt totally overwhelmed. It's that really noticed, but I definitely was not. I should have just left my phone at home and just immersed myself in that experience, being with them at a precious moment like that, and I wasn't. So that was one that jumps out for me.
I mean, I can see that, like, and that's made me think of like mine. There was a point similar to you, I think actually probably clearly worse than you, but my kids or my daughter said to me, "Daddy, get off your phone." For a kid at 3 years old to say that, clearly I was on it too much or something. And that really changed a lot in my head. So like trying to be present in every moment. Every time I'm with them now, I'm trying to be there, present, doing whatever they want to do, dressing up as a princess, you name it. Like, but
Is that you or them?
both. But that it's that moment, it's that fun rather than being, like you say, like there's a huge amount of things going on. There's that business life, there's everything that feels important, and it's trying to work out what is the most important. I think I actually had a conversation with my wife about like time the other day. Like we never have time to do anything, but we always have time to do things that we want to do or we need to do. The way I try and word it now is, it's not that I don't have time; it's that that's not important to me. And if you're saying you don't have time to take the kids to the park, well, no, they're not important enough.
Yeah,
And it
nice.
changes the mindset and it changes the way you view it. And that's what I've tried to really focus on. So in that scenario, the thing that was more important to you wasn't the pantomime or spending time with them.
Yeah,
It was actually trying to sort the app.
and you hide behind. It's not hiding behind, but the reason it's so important to you is because ultimately that's an indirect effect on them. If you don't do that, then everyone's in trouble. So there is always a link, but that's
Yeah.
a nice way of putting it. If you say it's not, they're not important enough, it makes you think about it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I tried to learn and adapt to. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you thought I was going to ask you?
No, it's just been nice to have a little chat about everything, really. Because, like I said to you before we started filming it, I talk a lot about alcohol free, but there's a lot more to my life now. That alcohol free is a good fundamental. It's a foundation that you need to live a better life. But the reason I call myself the Better Life Guy on Instagram is and not the sober guy, is because once you've given up the booze, everything's about what next, becoming the next version of yourself, the better version of yourself. And we're all learning and work in progress, as we just discussed. And I'm very excited to see where I go in the future and what I can do in the future with people that come on the journey with me.
I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. Thank you for coming on, and we'll close it there.